lounging, son.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge Podcast, guys. I am your host, the mighty Dillbot, and with me, as always, the ever-loving multicolored, chameleon-eyed Ryan Balcom. And welcome back to our weekly reads, guys. This week we are reading The Question by Jeff Lemire. The Many Deaths of Vic Sage by Jeff Lemire.
Dennis Cowan and Bill
Sienkiewicz.
With Chris Sotomayor on colors.
Let's just jump on right into it. Do you want to lead off?
I'll lead off. Question's one of my favorite characters. Has been for a very long time. I don't know what it is. I can't really explain why I had a fascination with the character, but it started when I was younger. And then, I would see bits and pieces of him and stuff, but it was never readily available when I was a kid or when we were kids. And then the Justice League Unlimited cartoon kind of re-sparked that love for the character, right? Because he was all into conspiracy theories, and he was all in the background, he's doing his thing, and
he always had a smart ass thing to say too.
And he always does. In every iteration in the comic books, he's had something smart to say, and I love the crime noir genre. So as I got older and I really became fascinated with that genre, this was the perfect character, right? And over the years, I put together a complete run of the Denny O'Neil, Dennis Cowan run from the 80s. And it is phenomenal. It is such a good run. There was one issue where it has no sound effects whatsoever, but it's one of the dopest fight scenes composed in a comic book. And it's Dennis Cowan's amazing art, I can't remember which issue it is. I think it might be within the first trade's worth. But it's out of print too, so I had to get the single issues. There was no way to get the graphic novels. So, when this was announced, I was fucking ecstatic. When I'm they're fine. First of all, Black Label started with Batman, Joker, Superman, and I'm when the fuck are they gonna do something else?
I actually remember this. Back when the Comic Lounge had a huge roster, we were all in the chat and we were talking about Black Label, and The Question was the first name to come up as a character for Black Label. And I remember the discussion we the whole Comic Lounge at the time had, and it was the craziest thing because people just went off on a tangent on how dope The Question would be, and then literally 2 weeks later they announced it.
I mean, he's the perfect character, because even back then, The Question was it was before Vertigo, so it was a mature readers. It was kind of in line with what Swamp Thing was doing. Green Arrow was kind of more on the mature level with Mike Grell. But this was Jeff Lemire, and to bring back Dennis Cowan, dude, yes, it's amazing. You know what I mean? And this came out prior to Denny O'Neil passing away, but it's I know that this book, I almost wish it did have a dedication page to Denny O'Neil, because what he did with the character, and The Question was originally created by Steve Ditko, for anybody listening and watching. That may not be a well-known fact.
I didn't know that.
The Question. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think that that's really cool, and what they've done with the character over the years, from he had that large gap where he didn't have a book, but then with the series 52, he trained Renee Montoya, right? He was dying because the mask that he wears, the chemicals that he sprays, it gave him, I think he had cancer, if I remember correctly. He was sick either way because of wearing this mask. And he trained Renee Montoya, and she became the New Question. And he was dead for a while. And I don't really know if it was Rebirth or how he came back. Maybe it was the New 52, so where he was back in continuity, but they didn't do anything with him. This book is exactly what I want in a Question book. It was phenomenal. The art, great. Jeff Lemire's writing, great. It is kind of a weird story. So, as I was giving my whatever stars on Goodreads, I was seeing all these reviews, and I'm you guys just don't get it. You're not really understanding what or who The Question is. That's why you're giving it 3-star, 2-star. For me, it's I would say a 4.5, right? Because the story, while the story is good, it's not my favorite Jeff Lemire, but the art is phenomenal. And like the fourth issue is where it really hits home for me. I'll let you get into more of like what your opinion was, because this is my second time reading it. But I want to hear what you thought. That was my little brief history on the question. I just wanted to give like some context.
Oh no. Okay, so this is actually my very first question book. Everything that I know from the question was from the Justice League episodes, right? So I knew going into it that he was he was like one like he's a really engaging detective, right? Like I said, always had the smart quips, but what stuck out the most was the conspiracy theory stuff, right? And going into it, just having that bit of knowledge, I feel like this is a great jumping in point for people. Like I feel like, like I don't know, I don't have anything to compare it to as far as stories, but I thought it was great. It has two of my favorite things that like, when you say them together, like you wouldn't think that they would mesh well together, but like a supernatural noir, right? A noir detective story, but it's like supernatural, so it's like there's obviously elements in there that make it fit into the DC world, right? And every time they mention Hub City, like being from LA, I think Hub City is Compton, but it's not. But
Hub City is like almost on the level of Gotham of how corrupt it is. Yeah, that's like, if you read the old series, like, and he brings back all the supporting cast, Todd, Myra, like all of these characters are back, and that's for the old fans. It's really cool because like he literally Lemire and the whole creative team are literally taking the cast from that book and kind of almost modernizing it. I mean, it's because there's a little bit of differences, but yeah, I mean, it's Hub City is just fucking corrupt like a motherfucker, dude. And that was one of the things about the old series that they do touch on, like that they dealt with like real world fucking, political issues or society and societal issues, like, so that's what was also another thing that really like I loved, is that they took all of that from the past and that past series and what that series was about, and they took it and brought it to new readers like yourself for the first time and really modernized it.
But what I really like too is like the concept of time that they talk about, right? I mean, not the concept of time, but like how they utilize time and like how they utilize stories repeating itself over and over again in human history, right? So when you go back, I forget what year it was, but when back in the Old West, right, when he was a blacksmith, I forget what year it was, like 18 something, and then and it was basically some Jim Crow shit where black man got blamed for a crime he didn't commit, and they were trying to hang him, right? That shit was super sad to me. That whole thing was, each timeline was like just equally sad, right? And then I don't even know if we touched it. I think we totally skipped over it. But basically, Vic is investigating a corrupt mayor, and he finds one of the mayor's top dogs in in a friggin' pedophile brothel, and friggin' finds a ring. That sparks off an investigation that takes Vic through time, and there's three timelines. There's the Old West. There is like pre-World War II. They said 1941.
It's 1941.
Right? Yeah. So pre-World War II and then modern day. So it's all simultaneous. It's not simultaneous storytelling, but every timeline there's like, it's a very time relevant problem that involves people and how the government is treating people and how corruption is affecting the people it serves, right? And it's beautiful. I thought that, I mean, as I'm talking about it, I'm beginning to like it more. As I thought about it, I think that was a very powerful thing, especially when you talk about the modern day stuff, because the modern day stuff was quite possibly like the most spot on representation of what's going on right now with like, police brutality and violence against colored minorities and all that. And it's crazy. It's crazy that they were able to utilize that and do it and do it so masterfully. And then that last issue where Vic does his thing, I thought that was one of the most beautifully written speeches I've ever freaking read in comics. Easy.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing book, and I think that I didn't ask him, and I wish I would have remembered to ask if issue 4 changed a little bit because of the Black Lives Matter movement that took place like during the pandemic, right? Because issue 4 didn't come out like when we had that gap of no comics. Issue 4 came out after. So this series started pre-pandemic. It ended not post-pandemic, but post like reopening and stuff, right? So I feel like that might have changed a little bit. And I could only like connect like, you know, you're talking about the evil in the world, right? And the divide and the hate and stuff. And it kind of, to me, felt like it was almost like they were talking about Trump a little bit, you know? Like that's kind of how I felt on this read. I don't remember how I felt the first time, but again, like I read the first issue, right? And then boom, like it was such a long gap from the time I read issue 1 till the time I read issue 4. So being able to read this again, and that's why I got the hardcover, and that's why I brought it up to you about reading this, because like I really have been anxious to read this, not necessarily in one sitting, because I read it in 2 chunks. I read 1 and 2, and I read 3 and 4. It's just such a great story, and to watch, like, it kind of like, it just tells you like that this hatred and this racism, like you look back over 100 years ago and this shit is still happening. Like that is in and of itself what I took away from the story. Yeah, there's the supernatural element, like he's going through time, he's looking at the many faces, and there's this devil type character, right? But that's not the aspect of the book that I liked. It was the other stuff, you know? And
the historical stuff.
And watching Vic Sage, like he's a news guy, but then he's fighting crime. You know, he doesn't pull punches. Much like he doesn't pull punches when he's fighting crime, he fucking will go. He'll go for the fucking throat, dude, when he's talking to you on the news, and he doesn't give a fuck who you are. And like he did it to Myra, who he has in the past he had a relationship with. I don't know if in this new world or in this new continuity, I don't, you know, if he did, but he did in the past, and like she calls him out after they stopped recording on the newscast. And, you know, I love that interaction between her. But there's a page where after he finds the ring, it's a double page spread and it has like all the strings.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like one of my favorite pages. Like when I read the first issue, I remember saying it in my review, like that is one of my favorite pages in the book. And it's like, there's no text. It's just like, you see, like, you get to see his mind and how he's like connecting dots, right? Because like, that's the kind of stuff that I love. I love detective stories. And I think that that's like one of the things that I've often said is missing in Batman, that we don't get to see enough detective stories with the world's supposed greatest detective, right?
Right.
So, to me, I think that this book,
it's always just like, Batman, how long have you knew? I knew 2 days ago. Like what the fuck? Yeah. He's just already.
Or Three Jokers, like, I've always known Joker's identity. I just didn't say anything.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, you just erased 80 years of him saying he doesn't know who this dude is, and now he's known? Like, whatever. That's besides the point. Like, I don't want to get into Three Jokers. I just reread that recently, too, and it, like, pissed me off for all sorts of reasons all over again. It's a beautiful book, but the story has left something to be, you know, something to be desired.
It was fine. Whatever. It wasn't like groundbreaking, so whatever.
No, but reading it a second time, I see the mistakes that I feel like shouldn't have been there. And that's not, I'm not trying to throw shade at Jeff Johns. I feel like, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this fucking question. You know, I love the aspect of it jumping through time, like I said. The 40s issue was probably one of my favorites because I really love, for some reason, it's kind of like with The Good Asian, where it's like the 1920s detective. I like the 1940s, too. And I kept hearing that, that kind of like that dialogue was kind of in my head when I was reading.
So it was like, during 1941, like that's the voice of Vic Sage that I heard, right? It was like, here's looking at you, kid. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I heard the entire time.
It's like, what are you talking about there, Tut?
So, and I think it's interesting too. Like they don't really touch much on Vic's past, right? They do at the end. It's very ambiguous, but like when he's with the priests, right? And like the priest is a creeper, you know, like, so like he's always had somebody kind of, he's always fighting some sort of evil throughout his life. I think that that's also kind of the, not message, but kind of what I took from the story on the second go round, you know, is that he's always fighting some sort of evil, and he's always had this like dark entity within his life that he feels like he has to fight, you know, like that's that inner thing. And then Richard Dragon making the cameo, like that was kind of cool, because Richard Dragon is a character that maybe not many people know about, but it was in the 70s, and it was like the whole martial arts explosion type thing in comic books where, you know, you had Shang-Chi, you had the Karate Kid in Legion of Superheroes, Iron Fist. I mean, there's a whole slew of them. Richard Dragon was one of the ones at DC that didn't really necessarily stick the landing. I always kind of liked the character. He's had a couple series, you know, since I've been alive, that I've read. And, you know, they've kind of switched it up. Like they switched it up in Green Arrow, the Jeff Lemire Green Arrow, where he was like, I think he was Hispanic and he had like tattoos on, like just like they completely changed the character. But in the question, he trained him. He also wasn't this much older than him though, so they completely like made him like this old like spiritual like guru type guy that like was all into meditation. Yeah,
yeah, fucking hippie.
So I kind of liked that they brought that back into it, the story as well. But you know, overall, I think it's just a really, really good book, and this is what I think Black Label should be. I said that in my review of issue 1 almost 2 years ago, whenever, you know, the first issue dropped. Maybe it was a year and a half ago. Maybe it wasn't 2 years. Maybe
I mean, I feel like we talk about it all the time about what the kind of potential that Black Label has, and I feel that this was them barely scratching the surface of that potential. You know what I mean? This is a fantastic book. If they just put these teams together and let them fucking run and fly with whatever they kind of want to do with very little restriction and no actual consequence to DC continuity, they should just let them do it. Or even kind of go to Vertigo route and just invent create these just brand new stories that has nothing to do with DC. Kind of like how Vertigo did Scalped and Vertigo did freaking Why the Last Man, and you know what I mean? Like, let them go. Like,
I just feel like that.
It doesn't have like I'm saying, like, how many Batman Black Label titles have there been? How many Joker related Black Label titles have there been? Harley Quinn related Black Label titles, and then but then you have stuff like this, and the other history of the DC universe, and those are the two off the top of my head that are like literally two of the best freaking Black Label comics out right now.
Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
Oh, Wonder Woman Dead Earth was good. But you know what I mean? Like, let these guys just go. Let these guys go crazy. Like,
I feel like the problem is that, and we're never going to see something like Vertigo again. Like the fact that James Tynion put Nice House on the Lake through Black Label was kind of shocking to me, because he doesn't need to. He could just do it at Image, or he could have done it at Boom. Like, the creator owns stuff. There's no way that DC's giving them a good contract in terms of like the percentages that they're going to own. The only difference is that they can promote, right? That they have like that behind them, the marketing behind them. Is that like he doesn't have to self promote necessarily. Like, his name is kind of selling itself, and then DC's also propping it up because they know that he's a hot writer and they can make money off of it, right? But the days of Vertigo and them and creators even wanting to do it through like a DC, it's just not there, because like Black Label is not Vertigo, and it can never be Vertigo. What Vertigo created was something unique and special, and I don't think we'll ever see that again from like a DC or Marvel. You can get those type of books though from Image, maybe Boom, not so much at Boom, but even Dark Horse, like Karen Berger, who was one of the main editors. Like, she was her baby with Shelley Bond. Like Karen Berger has Berger books at Dark Horse. Shelley Bond, she has her hands in stuff also. So that's where we have to go for that stuff. But in terms of Black Label, in terms of DC characters being done in new ways, I get why they're nervous to do it with like a Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. But guess what? There's a lot of other characters that you don't need to worry about sullying their fucking name and like, oh my God, we can't do that with that character because that's gonna people can't see that character in that light. Okay, we'll do it with the question. Do it with Green Arrow. Do it with Swamp Thing. Like, those are characters that have a huge fan base, but overall, the whole world doesn't know who the fuck the Question is. Not everybody knows who Swamp Thing is. Like, do an Animal Man book. Come on, dude. Like,
do an Animal Man book. Animal Man, let's go.
So many weird, obscure characters that you could do really cool things with, and that I guarantee there are creators that have stories they would want to tell.
To this day, I want my fucking Dead Man Black Label comic drawn by Jason Sean Alexander. I don't care who you get on writing, but just let Jason Sean Alexander do a Dead Man comic on Black Label. That would be amazing. Like,
I want to see an Etrigan book like that.
Yeah, let's see an Etrigan book, dude. The Demon. Just call it The Demon, and then just give him the wildest fucking story ever, and have him span across timelines and dimensions, and it'll be fucking amazing. DC, pay us, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this to me. It's like I read this year. I read Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. It's like I see these books being done, and it's like, but then I fucking see Harleen, Joker and Harley, Criminal Sanity. Joker Killer Smile, Batman Damned, Batman this, Batman that. Like, no, I don't fucking want. I mean, just change your name to Batman Comics then.
Yeah.
What do you call comics for? Like, just change your name to Batman Comics. That's what you publish. That's the majority of your line is Batman or Batman related titles, right?
Right.
With some other stuff. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love DC. I think DC's doing some dope shit right now. They got a lot of interesting titles, a lot of cool titles. With some really great creators, but I feel like they don't give enough shine to like these obscure stuff, because like that's where you find like
the gold.
Real gold. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where you
like. Who would have thought? Okay, Tom King did something crazy because he made me care about the Vision, and he made me care about Mr. Miracle, and that's fantastic. I mean, think about it. No one give a shit about Mr. Miracle, and then all of a sudden, there's a comic with Tom King writing it, and it's like one of the best comics I've ever read in my life. Same thing with the Vision, and this is before they had a TV show. You know what I mean? Like, look at the possibilities in creating new fan bases just based off of one singular beautiful story.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Like, take all of Jack Kirby's creations while he was at DC and make some fucking Black Label books. And I'm not saying make like some like with like a bunch of nudity or a bunch of violence. No, but if you were worried about...
I like the cursing. There was a lot of cursing in the Question, and I was here for it. Like, what the fuck? Or, you're a pain in the ass. Or...
yeah, but it's not, like, over the top just to be there either, you know? And, like, look, if you guys are, like, if you're nervous about, like, sullying characters, that's what Black Label's for, right? People can understand, oh, this is a different take on the character. It's not in continuity. Don't worry about it. Commandy, right? That would be dope. I would be there for that. Warlord by Mike Grell. Let Mike Grell come back and do a Warlord story. Like, there is so much shit. They have so many fucking characters that we haven't even seen in years.
Ambush Bug on Black Label.
Ambush Bug on Black Label.
Could you imagine Ambush Bug on Black Label?
I'm just curious who would want to do that book. That's like, okay.
Chip Zdarsky, Ambush Bug, Black Label.
I could see that. I could totally see Chip Zdarsky doing an Ambush book.
And he's like, you know, he could be like a news reporter. Yeah. He's just broke.
Doom Patrol. Bring Doom Patrol back. You know what I mean? Like any of the Vertigo titles that were publishing superhero stuff, do that through Black Label. I don't want to see Batman. I don't want to see Superman. There's enough of those books on the stands. Wonder Woman's different because she doesn't have a lot of stuff. So and Dead Earth was absolutely phenomenal. One of the best Wonder Woman stories I've ever read. But you know, bring it back to the Question. I think that like this should have shown. I mean, I don't know what the sales were like. Maybe that's why we don't see a lot of this stuff. But if the creator is big enough, the readership will go, right? Yeah. I know there has to be really big creators that want to tell stories of these really obscure characters. We can't be the only ones as fans that like the obscure characters. I'm sure the creators are there as well. So, I mean, obviously, and this book shows the love that Jeff Lemire had for the character and for the reverence he felt for the old run. It's evident on every single page in this book because the writing is so spot on, the characterization is so spot on, and the art it's just the synergy of the art with the writing. I mean, Dennis has even said how much he enjoyed working with Jeff. He loved working with Jeff Lemire. He loved the story. He loved collaborating with him. Jeff Lemire reaching out to Dennis to do it, that's dope. Like, he could have gone to any artist, right? But he went and got the GOAT. You know what I mean? Like, who else? I wouldn't have wanted to see anybody else draw the question. At least Vic Sage. Renee Montoya is a different story. Like, I don't really want to see anybody but Greg Rucka writing her, because, like, that's, to me, that's his baby. You know what I mean? Like, he wrote her in Gotham Central. He wrote her.
It's like Bendis and Jessica Jones, right?
Yeah, I'm very particular about the way she's written too. You know,
no, it's some great stuff, dude. Like, I want more of this, and like, hopefully this won't fall on deaf ears. That's like, you know what I mean. One could only hope. They should just put us in a DC or Marvel think box and just pay us to just shoot the shit all day and be like, hey, you know, like,
yeah. I didn't need to pay a lot, you know. I
do it for like 60 a year, 50 a year, like, just to shoot the shit, and they pay for my lunch because it's DC.
Yeah, maybe give us some free comics too, you know. Well,
give us some free comics, like.
I mean, we have
badges.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta have better ideas than some of these people that are fucking giving them their ideas, because some of them I see and I'm just like, how did that get made? You know?
I just kind of look at it like fantasy football, like, what creative team would I want to do a certain book, like, you know what I mean, a certain character, like, you know what I mean, like, damn, just pay me, please. Anyway.
I feel like we didn't really talk too much about the story, but like, I don't really know.
You don't really have to.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to read this book, because I don't think I could really. I feel like I would have a hard time explaining the actual story. That's why I just, like, for me, it's just like the moments and the parallels to what our society's going through that really stick out to me of the book, and are completely in line with what this character is about in terms of like the way Denny O'Neil reimagined him. I've never read the Steve Ditko stuff. So I don't really know like what Ditko's intention was with the character, but going based strictly off of how Denny O'Neil wrote him and how the character was portrayed back then, this is perfectly in line with that. And it's like almost, you know, a spiritual sequel to that run, in my opinion. And it hit on all fronts as a Question fan. Anybody that's a fan of the old run should read this if you haven't already. If you're a new fan of the Question and you are curious about the book, I definitely think this is worth picking up. If you're a fan of Lemire, pick it up. A fan of Cowan,
when this came out, this was like around the time when I got into like that big Jeff Lemire binge, when I just read a bunch of Jeff Lemire shit. Like, this is like around that time. So like, I was super hyped for it. It was, you know, fucking Jeff Lemire, superstar, dude. Like, Jeff Lemire can friggin' do no wrong in my eyes.
Just always writing, dude. It's crazy.
He has Sweet Tooth coming. That's big. So, like, I hope, you know, I get it. Like, I understand the appeal of Sweet Tooth. It just wasn't for me, and I'm a little disappointed that Sweet Tooth got a show before Descender did. I feel like Descender would have been a fantastic show.
Descender would be a really good show. I think Gideon Falls.
Oh. So I actually just started reading the second volume. The first volume was really good. The art is pretty fucking phenomenal. It is a total Jeff Lemire book, like, through and through. Like, you know what I mean? There's no question about who the fuck wrote that shit. Like,
it's like he's really channeling to me Stephen King and Dark Tower in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll see it more as you go on. I don't want to like ruin it, but yeah, that book is fucking insanity. I love Andreas Sorrentino, his art too. Like, and I know that I'm pretty sure him and Lemire are working on something, because he, in his newsletter too, he was like dropping like, oh, I'm working on this book with this artist, this book with this artist, like not telling the names of the book, but I was like, Jesus, like, he never stops producing comics. He is always creating, and I think that's and the quality is always good.
The quality is always good.
But it's because he focuses on one book at a time. Like, he'll write a chunk of this book, give it to the artist, right? And then he'll work on a chunk of this book, give it to that artist. So I think that's why the quality never falters, you know? Like, that's why his Black Hammer stuff is good. That's why...
The Black Hammer stuff's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what other creator-owned stuff he has. I know he did a digital first with Jock. I don't know if it came out yet. forgot the name of the book, but yeah, I know it'll be in print
it's that
eventually.
Amazon one. I forgot what it's called. The Amazon one. Is that when you're talking about? Oh, Comixology. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
I forget what
Comixology book. But it's going to be, like, Dark Horse has an exclusive to do any Comixology originals in print. So it will be in print eventually. I just can't remember the name of it for the life of me. My last thoughts on Question are just that it's really good, and I think that everybody should pick it up. It's like an indie book published by DC, in my opinion. That's pretty much what it is.
Honestly, I'll just add to that by saying, like, this is a great jumping on point. Like I said, I had no prior knowledge of the character aside from little parts here and there from the Justice League Unlimited show, and this is a great jumping on point. This is I like it. I liked it way more than I thought I would. And that's not going so far as to say I didn't think I wasn't gonna like it, because I already knew it was gonna be like, you know, a detective story. But the supernatural element to it, that stuff, and like the hippie shit, that just kind of set it over for me, and I was like, "Yep, this is cool."
This is really cool. I mean, I'm glad you dug it, dude.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic, and can't wait to check out. I want to check out the Denny O'Neil run now.
Yeah, I wonder if it might. Maybe it's on the app or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if it's available digitally. I never looked for it. I had to have it in my hands. So, you know. But it is a really good run. It's awesome. There's like a crossover with Green Arrow, which was really cool. So yeah, I highly recommend that run too as well. And I don't know what we're reading next week. So
I don't know what we're reading next week either.
But yeah, let's read. We'll read Thor next week. God Butcher is the first. It's the first one, right? And then God Bomb, we'll do for the following episode.
Which is actually pretty fitting because they just wrapped Love and Thunder. So
did you see that dude's fucking arm?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. He could literally go like this. Like, just hit me with his fucking like arm and it would probably fucking send me flying. Yeah. Jesus Christ. That dude it's like a Rob Liefeld drawing. How big his arms are. All right. Well, anyways, that's all I got for this week. And next week we'll be reading Thor: God Butcher by Jason Aaron and Asad Rivich. And if you're not already following us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. You can follow Dylan at The Dillpod on Instagram. Dillpod is dope on Twitter. Hey. And hit the like, follow, subscribe button so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And we are The Comic Lounge, not The Comics Lounge that has an S after it. And also, we have a TeePublic where you can pick up T-shirts with the Comic Lounge logo and mugs, all sorts of stuff. And nice. I'll drop that link down below now. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds. Buy our stuff.